The second I slammed the taxi door, my world exploded. You're out on the street now, soldier. My duffel hit the gravel with a thud that echoed louder than any mortar round. Boots caked in Afghan dust, I stared at the two men on my porch, Dad and my brother Kyle. Grinning like they'd just won a bet I never knew we placed. No hook. No welcome home. Just that gut punch line from the man who once carried me on his shoulders to Little League. What the hell does that mean? I managed. Kyle tipped his bottle back, swallowed, and laughed. House is gone, Jess. Catch up. Dad flicked ash from his cigarette onto my welcome mat. Kyle hit a rough patch. Family helps family. You were halfway across the planet. Didn't figure you'd mind. He shrugged. Army brats drift anyway. One roof's the same as another. I should have roared. Should have swung. Instead, a razor-thin grin cut across my face. Dad's eyes narrowed. Something funny, Sergeant? I opened my mouth. The house you unloaded wasn't. Then stopped. Let me rewind, because this knife had been sharpening for months, and they never heard it slide from the sheath. For months earlier, I was counting days on a FOB outside Kandahar. Dust storms, 120-degree heat, and the sweetest part of any deployment, a predictable end date. I'd bought the little craftsman bungalow in Tacoma 8 years back with my first re-enlistment bonus. Painted every wall myself, laid the oak floors on leave, planted the maple out front the day I made E6. It was my North Star. I called home every Sunday. Dad's voice always carried an edge, like I'd interrupted a card game. Kyle had crashed with him again after his third startup tanked. Whenever I asked what he was doing to get steady, Dad snapped. He's up, Jessica. He's figuring it out. Background noise grew weirder. Strangers laughing, someone barking. She wiring the cash or what? Click. Line dead. I chalked it up to spotty cell towers and kept sending my allotment. Then 10 days before wheels down, a text. Phone me before you land. No emoji, no signature. I stared at it between guard shifts until the screen went black. Duty swallowed the hours. I never got through. Figured I'd sort it face to face. So here I stood, sea bag at my feet. Learning my own blood had cashed me out to cover Kyle's bookie. Dad toasted the air. Dead squared. Kyle's breathing again. My grin widened. That what he told you? Dad's cigarette paused halfway to his lips. Meaning? I let the silence stretch, thick as the August humidity rolling off the sound. They thought shock glued my tongue. Truth. I was already 3 moves ahead. Soldiers don't come home praying. We come home locked and loaded. I climbed the steps slow, boots deliberate. Dad shifted aside, confused. Kyle snorted. Look at G.I. Jane playing cool. I paused on the porch. Let them stew under the naked bulb. Dad cleared his throat. Well, heck got your tongue. I studied the man who'd taught me to field strip an M4 at 12, who'd cried at my basic graduation. When exactly did you sign the papers? Month ago, he said. Clean deal. And you never thought to ask me? You were in a war zone, Jess. Too busy saving the world. Kyle rolled his eyes. Here comes the hero speech. I circled the yard once, boots crunching frostbitten grass. White picket fence still gleamed, my fence. Flagpole I'd cemented after my last promotion snapped proud in the breeze. Nothing looked stolen until you knew it was. Dad called. Money's gone to good use. Kyle's safe. Safe. That word lodged like shrapnel. Kyle didn't do safe. He did spiral. I planted myself at the porch stairs. Level with me. Cards, pills, or loan sharks. Dad exploded. Quit grilling your brother. Hard to grill when my house is missing. I fired back, voice flat. The front door creaked. A woman stepped out, red hair, yoga pants, mug reading World's Okayest Mom. Hi, she offered. I'm Tara the new. At 0500 I was back in the neighborhood, fog curling off the pavement. Tara sat on the porch steps, knees hugged to chest. Couldn't sleep either? I asked. She managed a watery smile. My husband lands tonight. Lawyer at 9. Good. I handed her a fresh copy of my evidence. This buys you leverage. Footsteps scraped behind us. Dad, eyes bloodshot, coffee breath sour. We need to talk. Talk requires truth, I said. You bring any? He opened his mouth, closed it. Kyle shuffled out, hoodie up like armor. A retired chief from next door, Mr. Delgado, rolled up in his pickup, window down. Heard raised voices last night, Sergeant Brooks. Everything 5 by 5. Dad bristled. Family business. I met Delgado's eyes. Actually, Chief, it's a crime scene. I laid it out. POA abuse, VA loan fraud, Harlan's cut. Delgado whistled low. You call the MPs? Sheriff first, I said. Then JAG. Dad's knees buckled. He gripped the railing. Jess, please. I looked at the man who'd once carried me through Disneyland on his shoulders. You had every chance. By noon I sat across from Sheriff's Lieutenant Ramirez, folder thick as a brick. He flipped pages, jaw tightening. This is wire fraud, title fraud, possible RICO if Harlan's crew is involved. You sure? Positive. He exhaled. Your own father. Sir, the uniform doesn't make me bulletproof at home. Statements took hours. Tara's attorney joined via speaker, voice shaking but resolute. Dad and Kyle were served notice at 1900. That evening Dad called from the landline, voice small, cracked. Deputies just left. They took my laptop. I know. I didn't think it through. You thought plenty. Just not about me. Silence stretched. Can I see you? Alone. Tomorrow. Front lawn. Everyone present. Dawn painted the sky bruise purple. Tara's lawyer, a deputy, Dad, Kyle, me, circle on the grass like a tribunal. Dad's hands shook so hard his coffee sloshed. I didn't know it was illegal, he rasped. You didn't want to, I said. The deputy outlined charges, restitution, possible jail time. Dad's knees hit the ground. Kyle finally looked sober. Terrified sober. I stepped to the door, palm against the cool wood. My wood. Tara watched, ice soft. I'm sorry, she whispered. Not your fault. Weeks blurred, depositions, frozen accounts, Harlan arrested in a casino parking lot. The sale unwound like cheap yarn. Tara got her down payment back plus damages. I got the keys. Moving day, I walked each room barefoot. New paint smell mixed with old ghosts. In the master, sunlight caught the tiny JB I'd carved into the windowsill at 24. I traced the grooves and exhaled 10 years of sand and sweat. Dad showed up unannounced, hat literally in hand. I start community service next week. Judge went lenient. I nodded. I was scared of losing him, he said. Ended up losing you both. You're not lost yet, I said. But you don't get to live here anymore. Trust is a longer tour than any I've pulled. He swallowed hard, eyes wet. I'm proud of the soldier you became. Wish I'd been half the parent. I didn't hug him. Not yet. But I didn't slam the door either. Tara stopped by with a tin of cookies, apology and thank you in one. We sat on the porch I'd reclaimed, watching maple leaves spin down like slow-motion parachutes. Think you'll stay? She asked. Long as the army lets me, I said. Roots are stubborn things. She smiled. So are second chances. Night settled. I stood in the living room, boots off, duffel finally empty. The house breathed around me. Creaks I knew by heart, the faint scent of lemon oil I'd rubbed into the banister myself. I whispered to the quiet, I'm home. But the real homecoming wasn't the address. It was the woman who walked back through the door carrying scars, evidence, and a spine forged in fire, unbreakable, even by family. If this story gut-punched you, drop your own battle in the comments. Strength recognizes strength. And if you crave more raw homecomings, stick around. I've got plenty more where this came from.